I want to firstly start off by saying why I decided to join politics. I joined politics to clean up politics. While I may be an idealist, I'll never allow that idealism to drown me out to the point that I lose sight on the pragmatic realities which lie in Malaysia. While we want to get many things as quickly as possible, the abolition of the Sedition Act, the Fake News Act, instituting reforms to ensure that even while personalities at the top can change, but institutions of democracy prevail, while all those things are critical, there are some things which take time. I'll give you a few examples. I'm going to start off by outlining some of the challenges which we are facing today. In politics, you must start off at an equal playing field. While there is a change in government, there is still an unequal playing field. Just look at the influence of money politics within parties. Even though Pakatan Harapan is in government, our spending or funding is significantly less even in comparison to the smallest component party in Barisan Nasional. The fact that BN in one of the many fundraising campaigns can get more than 100 million, even while that 100 million is frozen, still have an asset share of more than 1 billion ringgit is indicative of how powerful their financial strength is. And this is not including the hundreds of millions, if not billions, of accumulated wealth of their top leadership. I'm just talking about registered party wealth, party assets. I haven't gone into MCA, MIC, PBB, and all the rest. And I can tell you, as a member of Bersatu, and one of the co-founders of Bersatu, for Bersatu today, which is accused of being equated as UMNO 2.0, 3.0, God knows how many O's there are, we can barely raise 1 million ringgit. While in PN, you snap a finger, corporate actors will come and they'll be more than glad to donate even hundreds of millions of ringgit. So one, there's still an unequal playing field. Look at the media today. It's undeniable that they are more liberated than before. At the same time, UMNO's control, or BN's control over some media channels are still prominent. I don't want to mention them, I think all of us know in this room. At the same time, I believe the way forward is not to demonize them. I think they should still be respected. But there's still some unequal playing field which lies in that very own platform. What does all of this show? And where does this lead to? While there are some hard realities for us to consume, it doesn't mean we should lose sight on the strong idealism which drove us into politics to begin with, especially the young ones. There must still be structural changes, but there must be a timeline which we follow and which we must abide by. And if we are unable to fulfill some reforms, we explain why we can't and chart the way forward from there on. For an example, I want to start off by talking about political funding. I take this very seriously because I believe if we're not able to resolve this today or within this term, then we're bound to be on the race to the bottom. Because a lot of the things which Prof. Terence Gomez brought up, problems which lie, I think will get worse without a comprehensive law on political funding. I'll give you one small example. Besides the unequal playing field which I mentioned just now, if I'm a politician today and I decide to remain clean, I don't want to get millions of dollars worth of contracts from GLCs, nor do I actively seek for money from billionaires or multi-billionaires for personalized favors. If I go on that path, but unfortunately in the political landscape, I'm one of the only few persons to do so, and other of my competitors, whether it's within the party or outside the party, choose to be more audacious to solicit donations in dubious ways, I'm bound to lose. Because the hard realities on the ground is that political parties require money. Branch leadership requires grassroots funding. When you go, especially to rural areas, when people come to your constituency, they will demand, or they will expect for some favours to be fulfilled. From the smallest of things where, once when I was in Muar, 2 AM in the morning, an old pakcik comes knocking on my door. When your house is noticeable and everyone knows, comes knocking on your door and will ask, someone passed away, can you please give me duit khairat? Do I just turn this person away? Or do I say, why don't you register here, and wait until 1 month for that to happen? At that point in time, everything is over. If he doesn't have the money then, he will be in deep trouble. What do we do then? So one, I believe that there is a great need for political funding, or comprehensive political funding reform to be done ASAP. I brought it up many times, from in meetings in cabinet, to Majlis President of Pakatan Harapan, to Majlis President of Bersatu, because if this doesn't work, then young idealists will die. Because in the end, they will have to consume the hard realities of politics. That's why I was relieved when it was announced recently in the National Anti-Corruption Plan, about a month ago, that political funding reform will be one of the focuses and one of the main priorities. There are many models we can look at. Whether it's the German model of state funding, US model of transparency in reporting, but almost unfettered access to corporate donations. The point is there must be a change. It can't be status quo. I think that's number one. Number two is also to look at reforms in a level-to-level agenda, not as just pushing all in one go and in the end losing all the things or the support which got you into government to begin with. There was a lot of discussion about how do we approach race and religion in politics. There was also there's a claim that we should remove race-based policies. I call for all of you to think carefully, and besides looking things from an economic lens, also look at things from a political lens. In the United States, when there is a vacuum, and there were reforms made very quickly, the pendulum swung from someone as respectable as Barack Obama. I see the clip from the US Embassy, I'm sorry if I'm looking at your other leader, to someone as unfortunate, that's not a bad word, unfortunate as Donald Trump, very quickly. And in the end, in Malaysia in particular, when you embark on a path of reforms and you really want to do all of this, but if you go too quickly, to the point that you lose sight of your electorate and you lose the next election, the institutions of democracy which you like to cement and solidify, the tradition of democracy not embedded in the hearts and minds of Malaysia, it takes time, can be removed very quickly. So that's where it takes some greater consideration first to assess things case by case. And while we want to always have that strong sense of idealism, we should never lose sight on the unfortunate realism behind it.